So a bit earlier this week, we got a rental car with my cousin, and I'm very happy because I'm gonna be able to move around the island as I wish. But something embarrassing happened because after only 2 minutes driving, my cousin asked me to take the wheel to drive us home because I almost crashed the car twice. Because yes, there is a specificity here. They drive on the left. That's the passenger side. And here I have the wheel and I'm driving. And it might seem to be a detail, but really it was extremely difficult for me to be able to apprehend the distance on the left side, the distance from obstacles. So I always had that feeling that I was far away, but I was extremely close, and I almost touched a car twice. I really have the feeling when I'm driving that, I forgot that part of the car, because usually this is where I am. And that got me thinking and remind me a question that I hear often from companies. Should you hire young graduates with no experience? Or should you privilege people with experience? Because yes, my experience helped me to adapt quicker, that is a fact, but to which extent and also to which cost? Because you would have to pay me for my past experience even though it is not 100% relevant for you. And also, more importantly, I believe that it is often more difficult to unlearn than to learn. Let's discuss this at the office and I will show you my driving skills. We arrived. So what are the pros and cons of hiring a young graduate with zero experience? So the first con is that you need time and resources to support and coach them, and not every company can afford it. Secondly, the learning curve is longer before the young graduate can be autonomous and operational and running. Number three, the young graduate didn't have the opportunity to develop and mature his soft skills in a professional environment yet. He doesn't know himself, he doesn't know his weaknesses or his strengths, for example. Also, a young graduate could realize 6 months later that it is actually not what he wants to do at all, and it doesn't matter how good your interview process is, it is always a risk. And lastly, a young graduate can't bring new perspective or insight from the competition. So that was for the cons. Let's see the pros now. And there are many. The first one is that you can train them from scratch and you don't inherit from bad practices or bad habits that they developed in their previous job. And as I said earlier, it is really easier to learn than to unlearn. And this is why it is easier to coach them. Because also they are so open and so eager to learn, they are so open about new ideas, new methodologies, because they know nothing. And this is why, by the way, your first real experience, your first real professional experience has such an impact on your career, because it shapes you as a professional. What you will learn in this first job will stay with you forever. And trust me, this is actually why recruitment is such a great industry to start a career. And not only a young graduate didn't have the opportunity to develop bad habits yet, but also someone with already a first professional experience could bring with him some of his past bad experiences and his frustration, his disappointment, or his disillusions. For example, if in your past job you experienced manipulation, you have been lied to, you experience injustice, you might become cynical or develop trust issue or lose motivation quicker as soon as you experience something that reminds you a past trauma, because your past experiences will impact and will affect your perspective and your perception. And what's great with the young graduate is that he will be what you make of him. Feed him with positive experience and he will have a positive mindset. So it is really also a huge responsibility, because it is up to you then not to develop those trauma. and to give him a positive environment for him to grow as a professional in a healthy way. And finally, a young graduate is cheaper, easier to attract, and he will be grateful for your trust. So that being said, what should you do? Who would I hire? So obviously, as I said, there are pros and cons in both situations. But personally, for many of the pros that I shared with you, I always had such a great experience working with young graduates. And I believe that it is a winning strategy in recruitment because we can afford to hire for attitude and to train for skills, because resources are cheaper and easier to attract, and also because we often have strong values and also very clear guidelines and a very clear strategy to transmit. And those who are not very comfortable or a bit reluctant to hire a young graduate should ask themselves the right question, because it is often an indicator of a weak strategy and poor processes, or not having the right people to coach and support young graduates. But if you have that problem with young graduates, probably you have the same problem with the juniors within your team. Even if they have 1 or 2 years of experience, they still need assistance, they still need support, they still need coaching and training. Because if you have a clear strategy, good processes, a blueprint, and a replicable system in a job where mostly what really matters are soft skills, then hiring young graduates is really a no-brainer. And I keep saying young graduates, but you understand my point. As you know, as I said it multiple times on this channel, you really don't need a degree to do that job. But the point of this video is to make you understand that really it's not only a question about the candidate being cheaper or easier to attract. There are many good reasons why you should implement that in your strategy. So maybe you don't want to hire only young graduates, but definitely if you have a recruitment business, that should be your priority, in my opinion. But if I make that video, it's also because I'm very keen and very curious to hear your thoughts. So I'm wondering what you think. Do you have a good experience with working with people with no experience in recruitment? And would you implement that in your strategy if you have to start a recruitment business tomorrow? Let me know in the comments, and see you in the next one. Do not hesitate and do not forget to like the video, to comment, and to subscribe to the channel. Thank you.